Welcome to the news. A look at stories making headlines. Government has banned the use of packaging materials such as plastic bags. Zambia is losing about $100 million through floods and droughts per year in economic terms. And the Teaching Council of Zambia has recruited 2,009 teachers out of 27,439 applicants countrywide. Now the news in detail. Ministry of Water Development, Sanitation and Environmental Protection has banned the use of packaging materials such as plastic bags and their resultant waste. Making the announcement in Lusaka, Permanent Secretary Eddie Chomba says that this is in accordance with Section 58 of the Environmental Management Act No. 12 of 2011. Zanis reports that Dr. Chomba said this is the extended producer regulations which extend the responsibility of the producer of a product or class of products to the post-consumer stage of the product or class of products. He says that the extended producer regulations is one of the tools that government will rely on to manage in an environmentally sound manner packaging materials such as plastics and their resultant waste. Dr. Chomba says the extended producer regulations will also regulate non-returnable glass and plastic bottles, cartons, beverage cans, waste oils, pesticides, or chemical containers, used tires, electrical and electronic equipment. He states that the regulations require a person or persons whose activities generate waste with potential to pollute the environment to employ measures essential to minimize waste through treatment, reclamation, reuse, recovery, or recycling. Dr. Chomba says the ministry has since informed the stakeholders and the general public that the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZAMBIA, has been engaging stakeholders from all sectors of the economy on the content, framework, and the way regulations will operate. He said among the key stakeholders that have so far been consulted include the Zambia Association of Manufacturers, Zambia Association of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or marketing companies, chain stores, and shopping center managers. Zambia is on average losing about $100 million to floods and droughts per year in economic terms. A risk profile by the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction shows that floods and droughts are presently affected up to 11% of the country's entire population. Organization Regional Office for Africa Representative Katrina Sotesova says it is projected that in future, floods and droughts are likely to affect 20% of Zambian population. Speaking at the opening of a 5-day Zambia Disaster Risk Reduction country-level workshop in Lusaka, Ms. Sotesova says that this will be mainly due to demographic and economic growth. She notes that potential losses to crops in particular is estimated to increase to $50 million per year, while losses in hydropower generation will be the highest at $200 million per year. Ms. Sotesova states that given such projected losses in economic terms, Zambia's focus should be on disaster risk proofing and reduction on relevant public and private investments.
So we must take action to protect private and public investment expenditure from disaster. But how is this done? In March 2015, at the 3rd UN World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction was adopted for the period 2015 to 2030. The Sendai Framework focuses on preventing the creation of new risks and reducing the existing ones. It reaffirms that no government can achieve disaster risk reduction without implementing a holistic and inclusive approach. Therefore, we are very happy to see such a diversity of institutions who come together to discuss and share their approaches and get a common bottom line and a common view of action in the future.
And Minister in the Office of the Vice President, Sylvia Charles Kosa, says Zambia recognizes the present opportunity to ensure that plans for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation merge. Speaking when officiated at the workshop, Ms. Charlie Kosa says national and local strategies for reducing disaster risk will therefore be the bedrock for reducing disaster losses by 2030. She has since thanked the organization for facilitating the workshop.
Local planning for improved disaster risk management helps create social demand for action at local and national level. It also helps drive greater ambition to reduce disaster risk and making our country a safe one. Climate change is a key driver of disaster risk and often combines with other risk factors such as rapid and unplanned urbanization, poverty and environmental degradation to greatly multiply the impact of disasters. This, I believe, is a key argument for bridging the integration gap between action on disaster risk and climate risk, and I think Zambia is well positioned to ensure that this is so.
The Teaching Service Commission has announced the recruitment of 2009 teachers in the 2018 to 2019 recruitment exercise. This is out of the 27,439 applicants countrywide. Speaking at a media briefing, Commission Chairperson Stanley Muhango says that the 270 applicants were disqualified for going against the application guidelines which restricted applicants to apply in only one district. Mr. Muhango says of the 2009 recruited teachers, 74 are persons with disabilities. He adds that 54 applicants had forged grade 12 results and have since been reported to the Anti-Corruption Commission (ACC). Meanwhile, Mr. Muhango states that the first decentralized recruitment exercise used in the teacher recruitment exercise revealed that the country has very few teachers of local and French languages, while teachers in some subjects possessed more than the diploma qualification.
We did receive a total of 27,439 applicants. That is from ECE, primary teachers and secondary school teachers. The highest number of applicants were from the Copperbelt province, which was at 5,250, giving us a percentage of 13.84%. We have selected a total of 744 male applicants and 1,265 female applicants, giving us a total number of 2,009 applicants as teachers that will be recruited for the 2018-2019.
The Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA has intercepted 3 trucks in different locations with alcohol believed to be meant for Christmas celebrations with about 700,000 kwacha in taxes. ZRA Corporate Communications Manager Topsy Kalinda says that the trucks were intercepted by elite anti-smuggling squads working together with customs officers from Chirundu border. Mrs. Kalinda says one of the trucks was intercepted in Southern Province on the New Bottom Road of Siavonga in the bush, where it was found offloading into 2 canter trucks and 2 small buses. He says the other trucks were intercepted in Chirundu district with forged documents purporting to be carrying various furniture fittings. Mrs. Kalinda states that this is a straight seizure and that the authority will recommend for forfeiture of the goods and the trucks to the state.
These are pure cases of forgery, false representation and attempted smuggling contrary to the Customs and Excise Act, Chapter 322 of the laws of Zambia. We want to make it very clear to the owners of these consignments that this one is a straight seizure. we shall recommend that we forfeit both the trucks and the goods. The authority has since decentralized its operations into all the borders, or all the border areas, starting with the southern borders, the eastern borders, the northwestern borders, and the western borders. All of them have been sealed off. While in another development, we have also intercepted a truck carrying 568 cases of smuggled kiwi shoe polish worth 342,000 kwacha in value, and this was intercepted on the Nakonde route in the northern region of Zambia.
A new coal mine, which will create about 800 jobs, is expected to be opened in Sinazongwe district of Southern Province in April 2019. Sinazongwe District Council Chairman Alec Mleya tells Q News that Coal Mine, which will be operated by Indian investors with Chinese funding, will be located in Chief Mwembe's chiefdom. Mr. Mleya says that the community members who will be displaced by the mining operations have already signed the agreements for the compensations. He says that the lowest paid in terms of compensation will walk away with about 136,000 kwacha. Mr. Mleya has since expressed happiness at the coming of the new mine, which he says will create employment opportunities for the people of Sinazongwe district.
At the same time, this investor, like last week, they came with the partners who want to fund them, because these funders are from Chinese. There are about 7 banks from Chinese who have shown interest to fund these investors so that at least the operations can be on next year. For Sinazongwe is an achievement because most of our youths will get employed, and at the same time the council will benefit by raising a lot of revenues, because we'll be collecting personal rent from the same mine, and when this mine acquire the title deed, we'll also get the title, the rent rates and property rates from the same company, which means the budget of the council will go up at the.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mleya has appealed to government to expedite the process of issuing coal mine with land title to enable the council collect land rates from the mines. He says council currently cannot collect property rates from the mine because it does not sit on titled land. Mr. Mleya says that this has affected the revenue of the council. He states that having the mine sit on titled land will help the local authority increase its revenue. The Economics Association of Zambia EAZ says it foresees a government debt which has impacted negatively on the economy continuing to be the major risk in 2019. EAZ President Lubinda Habazoka says there will be need for government to come up with a plan of how to amortize what it owes in public debt. He says that the EAZ is particularly advising government to as soon as possible consolidate and restructure debt obtained from China in a way that monthly principal and interest payment is reduced. Dr. Habazoka has told QTV News by telephone that this is what his association thinks will in turn reduce pressure on Zambia's foreign reserves. And Dr. Habazoka, however, states that the EAZ holds the view that the Zambian economy has performed better than expected in the year ending 2018. He states that his association expected pressure from public debt servicing to impact negatively on the country's economy.
We have seen, I think, performance of the budget in terms of payment of salaries, for example, for civil servants on time, which shows that in terms of liquidity, government is really not starving. I think the Zambia Revenue Authority has collected more taxes than were projected. I think that is a plus. Although I would like to say that there has been no liquidity among households, which can have an effect on the demand for goods and services within the country, and the potential to slow down business growth. Yes. In terms of cost of energy, I think fuel prices have had an effect on the households and businesses, as international crude and the exchange rate gave up on us. We expect that probably the year coming 2019, the Zambian kwacha will gain, and also the favorably low prices on the international market for crude will also be favorable, and hence see a reduction of fuel prices in Zambia going into 2019. On the agriculture side, I think because of some mixed rainfall patterns last year, we didn't harvest as expected, but what we harvested was enough for the nation. I think going into 2019, we expect farmers to put in a little bit more effort to grow food such that the agriculture sector also proves to be a provider of forex. The mining industry, unfortunately, for the year 2018, has continued not providing enough forex to maintain the value of the Zambian kwacha. And I think going forward, there should be, just like in South Africa, regulations that are aimed at ensuring that all monies for minerals sold come back first into Zambia, meaning they have to reconcile with the value of minerals that have gone out. That will ensure at all time availability of forex, which can strengthen the value of the Zambian kwacha.
In health news, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary in charge of Health Services, Jabin Molonda, has disclosed that close to 1 million Zambians suffer from hearing impairment. Dr. Molonda says that this challenge is an impediment to socio-economic development as the country aspires to attain the prosperous middle-income status by the year 2030. He has, however, noted that government, through his ministry, has integrated hearing services at all structural levels, such as radiology, to cushion the impact. The permanent secretary was speaking in Mumbwa when he graced the Stucky Hearing Institute third graduation ceremony.
The problem of hearing impairment is huge worldwide, but in Zambia in particular, close to 1 million people may have disabling hearing impairment. This means there are many people out there who cannot contribute to the economic development of this country because they have an impairment. And that if their hearing impairment is restored, we will have more contributors to our social and economic development of this country. Some of you may know that we have undertaken as a country to develop to a prosperous middle-income country by 2030, and it will take all of us. As the saying goes, alone we can't do much, but together we can change the world. And I think together we can change the narrative about hearing impairment. As a country, we have recognized the enormity of the problem and have developed a strategy for ear, nose, and throat services. And we have a plan to actualize the strategy. One of the objectives is to integrate hearing care services at all levels of the healthcare system.
And speaking earlier, Stucky Hearing Institute Executive Director Dr. Alfred Mwamba says the school will continue working with government in the provision of professional hearing training to students across the region.
3 years ago, on a land which many could not think much of, one visionary, one true leader, inspirational, a champion who has led us to this moment today, Mrs. Tani Austin, walked these grounds believing in this dream. And for that, Mrs. Austin, we are forever grateful. Because of your leadership and your passion, all of us are part of the revolution. We will not stop until every child that needs hearing care services, no matter where they are, receives the help that they need so that they can be the best that they could possibly be. We will not stop until that grandmother, and in African culture, oral communication is very important. And we will not rest until that grandmother is able to share that knowledge, because she's able to communicate with her grandchildren and pass on our customs and keep our cultures alive.
Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development, Aruna Chitotela, has called on Elion Consulting Engineering Limited a construction company undertaking the Lusaka City decongestion project to speed up the works before the rains intensify. Speaking when he inspected roadworks of the Lusaka City Decongest project, Mr. Chitotela says that the law that regulates construction does not permit any construction company and any construction works after 15th December because of the rains, hence the need to make sure that all the areas that have been opened up are completely covered. Mr. Chitotela, who was accompanied by Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo, states that the inconvenience of traffic in Lusaka is temporal because the bigger picture of the government is to decongest the city for the next 20 years after the project. More in the following report.
Congestion in Lusaka has been a major challenge for many motorists. Most people rushing to either their workplaces or their business centers are usually caught up in traffic. To help eliminate this challenge, government embarked on a project called the Lusaka City Decongest Project, aimed at decongesting the city. The works on the project include expanding selected roads, construction of ring roads and drainages, among others. And today, Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development, Ronald Chitotela, accompanied by the Provincial Minister, Bowman Lusambo, inspected the works.
They clearly state that there is this perception that because President Lungu is delivering in terms of infrastructure development, nobody is talking about that. I want to encourage you, my colleagues, the civil servants, never to get discouraged by the baseless accusation of corruption, because the congestion of Lusaka is a project which is being financed by the Exim Bank of India. The procurement processes were done in India. The advertisements were done in India. The contract was picked from India to come and implement. So is the other projects which are under contract financing here in Zambia.
Speaking at the same inspection, Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo says having this infrastructure in Lusaka will bring other development to the province.
And for us as Lusaka administration, we are happy that we are having a new roads here in Lusaka province, not only Lusaka district, but other districts as well. We are doing the decongest Lusaka. It's just one of the projects which we have here in Lusaka province. We have other projects going on in our districts. So for us as Lusaka province, we are happy and we want to say thank you to His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu's government for investing in this infrastructure in our province.
And Allion Consulting Engineers Limited Director Chawata Kaliba says so far 14.2 kilometers of roads have been opened up and works are being carried out.
Working on the issue of the 20% subcontracting, because we believe that it is also an item that needs attention, and it is part of government's position that we need to have local persons empowered, and it is something that we have not put aside. It's something that is actually ongoing. Right now, in terms of the roads that have been opened, 14.2 kilometers have been opened up. There are works going on a stretch of 14.2 kilometers.
It is expected that once this project is completed, Lusaka City will be decongested for the next 20 years, and the people of Lusaka will easily get to their destinations without any inconveniences. Martha Katambi, reporting for QTV News in Lusaka.
Thank you, Martha, for that report. Now, the European Union says it is envisioning to create up to 10 million jobs in the next 5 years under the proposed new Africa-Europe Alliance for Sustainable Investment and Jobs. The jobs will be created under the Vocational Education and Training VET Toolbox project, a cooperation program co-funded by the European Union and the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. European Union Head of Delegation to Zambia and Special Representative to COMESA, Alessandro Mariani, has told journalists during a media breakfast that the proposed new Africa-European Alliance shows the commitment to reinforce African-European partnership by boosting strategic investment and strengthening the role of the private sector, among others. Mr. Mariani has reiterated that the Africa-Europe Alliance for Sustainable Investment and Jobs is aimed at substantially boosting investment in Africa, strengthen trade, create jobs, and invest in education and skills. He has reminded African leaders that they have a program for building a continent-wide free trade arrangement of their own, which most countries have signed, thus the need for the new alliance partnership. Mr. Marian says that the European Union intends to allocate about 40 billion euros of investment in Africa in its next budget, stressing that the investment has the possibility to change Africa's destiny. He has stressed that the imperative of fighting youth unemployment and the temptation of illegal migration will not be possible without building infrastructure, helping small and medium-sized businesses, and promoting young African entrepreneurs.
And here again, I'm particularly pleased with the presence of colleagues from COMESA, because COMESA is a building block in creating the possibilities for this African continental free trade area, which should be the element on the basis of which then we could move in terms of aspiration towards a continent-to-continent trade agreement. The overall objective, so these quotes have been reported to your attention in order to situate the elements and the main elements of this very, very important initiative. Now let me come to the overall objective, though you have certainly distilled this from the quotes, is to contribute to sustainable and inclusive development by increasing investments, so again the words investment, both from Europe and from Africa, and creating jobs. So stimulate investment, increase the level of investments, and through that create jobs. Now, in a very simple manner, I would like to present to you the key action to achieve this objective. The first one is to boost strategic investment and strengthening the role of the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, it has to be very clear that the role of the private sector is second to none in creating investments and creating jobs.
Speaking at the same event, COMESA Assistant Secretary General for Administration and Finance, Dave Hammond, says that the 10 million jobs which the European Union intends to create for Africans in the next 5 years is not enough to improve the standard of the people on the continent.
So that this can work. Because what is invested now is that they want to work with the cooperating partners. The money is released directly to the cooperating partners, UNIDO, UNCTAD, and these partners will recruit the consultants, get the management fee, and then come with the remaining money to implement some of the projects. So what we requested there is that we need to change the model. We value what the cooperating partners, technical partners are doing. They are doing fantastic. We can work with them if there is that ownership of having the fund, but partnering with the technical partners. But if the partner are receiving directly money, the fund from the EU, so the relationship between them and us will be defined in other ways. So our appeal, Your Excellency, is to see if you can contribute to the game change, so that at least at the end of the 5 years, this project is implemented. And there will be huge impact if these 45 billion are used for the private sector.
Right.
And now, climate change remains one of the major threats to agricultural production and productivity both locally and internationally, with smallholder farmers the most vulnerable to this threat. It's the more reason the Zambian government has partnered with the Technical Center for Agriculture and Rural Cooperation to scale up climate-smart agriculture solutions for cereals and livestock smallholder farmers in Zambia. The following report highlights further.
Climate change, according to scientific research, remains one of the major threats to agricultural production and productivity in Zambia, and that smallholder farmers are the most vulnerable to this threat. It's the more reason that the Zambian government has partnered with the Technical Center for Agriculture and Rural Cooperation, CTA, to scale up climate-smart agricultural solutions for cereals and livestock smallholder farmers in Zambia. The Zambian Open University is leading the implementation of the 2-year project, which is being implemented in 12 districts in the country, among them Nyimba, Petauke, Chipata and Lundazi districts of Eastern Province.
One of the major factors affecting agriculture today is climate change. The general trends in the rainfall pattern in terms of quantity and overall seasonal distribution has clearly continued, indicating a downward trend of becoming more challenging to producing sufficient food. The Zambian government aims to improve access to use of stress-tolerant seed. Expanding access to and use of information communication technology. This conceptual framework demands that farmers produce crops sustainably at a minimal cost with maximized profits.
The project has already trained all agricultural camp extension officers in target areas and during the week held seed fairs in Chipata and Lundazi districts respectively as part of activities to scale up climate-smart agricultural solutions.
We are holding seed fairs in each of the 12 districts where the project is being implemented.
Tilushita zionesero madera angapo ma district yali 4 umetilushita chionesero cha mbeu zimene tiluonesa.
Seed companies and research institutions are invited to participate, display and showcase seed varieties to a wide range of farmers and agro dealers in each district.
The companies that have come here today, please, you are doing a very good job. So I want to encourage you that you should continue meeting the real felt needs of our farmers in Chipangari district. Because these are your customers. If you do a good job, you tell our farmers correct information so that when they use your seed, they are able to benefit as well.
If the technologies being promoted in this project are adopted and applied holistically by smallholder farmers, they will no doubt be more resilient to address the negative effects of climate change. For Nais, Gloria Suisha reporting in Chipata, Eastern Province.
Vice President Nongewina has been challenged to explain why the Senanga Township Road project she commissioned in 2016 has not commenced up to date. Former Senanga Member of Parliament William Harrington says that the people of Senanga are disappointed that since this project was launched, no construction works have ever been undertaken. Mr. Harrington says his own investigation has revealed that the contractor who was awarded the contract was only paid to mobilize equipment on site. In a walk-in interview, Mr. Harrington says that this explains why from the time the equipment was mobilized 2 years ago, the contractor has not been able to commence the construction works. He has since appealed to the Vice President to use to ensure that funds are made available for the Senanga Township Road project.
So we are appealing as people of Senanga kubomukwai kuli wautuse kuli musibezi wani project wani ukalisiwe kakuli wanyanda masenanga akunalizira mwa town There are no roads within the town. There are very bad conditions which are contributing to the bad condition of vehicles within Senanga. So we want to appeal to our Honorable Vice President to use her position as somebody who hails from that part of the country to do everything within her powers to ensure that the funding is made available to the contractor before the onset of the rains. Otherwise, the roads in Senanga will become impossible.
Patriots for Economic Progress, PEP President Sean Tembo has predicted another devastating cholera outbreak in Lusaka if the current poor collection of garbage in key strategic places is not promptly addressed. Mr. Tembo observes that with the onset of the rain season and the piling up of garbage in Lusaka Central Business District, Soweto Market, and in compounds such as George and Chibolia, among many others, the country remains at the risk of losing lives to a cholera outbreak. He says his party expects the PF government to prioritize the prevention of cholera by undertaking measures such as the timely collection of garbage, especially in trading places as well as in high-density residential areas. Meanwhile, Mr. Tembo has noted that apart from the uncollected garbage across the city, the majority of densely populated neighborhoods still do not have running water, thereby forcing residents to dig wells and shallow wells next to pit latrines and septic tanks, which he says is a sure recipe for another devastating cholera outbreak.
As Patriots for Economic Progress, we are deeply concerned with the extent of uncollected garbage around Lusaka. We are further concerned with the extent of lack of clean drinking water in most densely populated areas of the city, such as Kamanga Compound, Mrs. George Compound, Kanyama, and related areas. We are concerned about these issues because of the onset of the rain season and the usual occurrence of cholera in and around Lusaka, which often leads to the loss of hundreds of lives of our tax-paying citizens. We are also concerned with the fact that the Patriotic Front and its government have failed to prioritize the lives of citizens of this country by providing the required clean drinking water.
Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager George Chimba has appealed to political leaders to use their influences to sensitize the communities on the need to desist from indiscriminate dumping of waste. Mr. Chimba says that the Lusaka City Council is doing a lot in ensuring that the city is clean, but that the efforts of the local authorities are hampered by the general public's poor attitude towards garbage collection.
You know that BH market and surrounding markets are very strategic. The food supply in Lusaka, almost all the foods are coming from there. Wherever you are buying your tomatoes. It's likely that that tomato was ordered from Soweto market, and so it's important that that place is kept clean. In an event that there's an outbreak of cholera emanating from there, you can be assured that it will spread to other areas, because as I've already mentioned, the food for Lusaka is coming from there. So we are happy as Lusaka City Council that traders are complying. In some cases, they are demolishing these structures on their own. If you go there, you find so many traders demolishing these structures on their own and salvaging a bit of materials which they can use elsewhere. And the presence of state police and council police will continue for some time, just monitoring the situation there, so that we only move out of there when the situation is normalized. You know that
Lusaka Province Minister Bowman Lusambo has requested China's Sichuan Province governor to visit Zambia for the Zambia-China twinning program to be strengthened at a higher level. Addressing a Chinese delegation from Sichuan Province, a Communist Party, that paid a courtesy call on him, Mr. Lusambo says following the Vice President, Mrs. Inonge Winner's visit to Sichuan Province, it is only prudent that a top official from that province also visits Zambia. He is optimistic that the twining of Chongwe Municipal Council to Mianyang City, which is the second largest prefecture-level city of Sichuan province in southwest China, will spur development in Chongwe and also propel and consolidate the development of Zambia's technology industry. Mr. Lusambo says that the twining program needs to be strengthened to higher levels in readiness of its implementation.
We need to strengthen this relationship at a higher level so that other districts within the province can benefit from the development which is happening in your city in terms of technology. As you might be aware, the world you are living in today is a scientific and dynamic world. So we need to upgrade our people to be on the same page with the transformation which is happening in the world.
他说呢，这个是他也之所以说要加强这个合作关系啊，也是希望卢萨卡的其他区域能够像这个中国一样啊，能够通过跟我们合作去获得收益、获得效益。一定是这样的。Yeah, it's for sure.
Yeah. So for us as Zambia, we consider China and the Chinese people as part of us. We have 72 tribes, 73 tribes in our country, and China now is part of us. So we are adding to our tribes in China. That's the thing which I want to see. I want to see Nyanja speaking, in your city, Bemba, Lamba, Kumbuka, in your city. I want Zambia also to set up companies in your city, in Sichuan province, so that both sides will start benefiting from our development which we have. We have a lot of potential in tourism in our province. There's a lot of potential in tourism. So as we are benefiting from the IT city, we also come and invest in our tourism sector in our country. It's very big, and we want people to invest in our tourism sector.
And speaking through an interpreter, head of delegation who is also Sichuan Community Party of China, Secretary Liu Chao, said the party will ensure that the relationship between Zambia and China is strengthened to higher levels. Mr. Chao says that the delegation's visit is a feedback visit following Mrs. Winner's visit to Mianyang City, which signifies a progress regards the implementation of the twining program between Mianyang City and Chongwe. Government has been urged to translate a commitment aimed at improving the welfare of persons living with disabilities into action. Zambia today joined the rest of the world in commemorating the International Day for Persons Living with Disabilities. Born Short Living Tour BSLT Executive Director Ntalasha Chisha has urged government to create at least 15 to 25% employment opportunities in the public service for the differently abled. Mr. Chisha says his organization is working at implementing Project 17 to 18, which will come to force in April 2019 with the aim of empowering the disabled and ensuring that their rights are communicated. He adds that once the project is launched next year, his organization will then begin advocating for free education for people living with disabilities up to university levels. Meanwhile, Disability Rights Watch National Coordinator Bruce Joma has demanded that instruments to operationalize the Persons with Disabilities Act be issued and implemented. Mr. Joma has noted the need for Zambia to invest in the future, stating that the country needs to address the huge backlog of children with disabilities who are out of school. As we come to the end of our main news, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. Government has banned the usage of packaging materials such as plastic bags. Zambia is losing up to $100 million through floods and droughts per year in economic terms. And the Teaching Council of Zambia has recruited 2,009 teachers out of 27,437 applicants countrywide. That's all we had in our news today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.